proudest day and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears, the Rally Podcast, Season 3, Episode 51. I suppose before we start, can you please like, share, rate, subscribe? I suppose starting off this week, the fantastic news is Craig Rahill has won the Billy Coleman Award to start things off, announced earlier on this afternoon. Brilliant, delighted for Craig, you know, and like he is definitely a wee star of the future. Like the other two guys that were gotten shortlisted, again, they're, you know, the sky's the limit for them as well too. We have such a wealth of talent now at the minute, but more of that in a few minutes. And then also we're going to talk Killarney Historics. What a day that was! Like unbelievable. Like, you know, I probably should have been there now. The more I think about it. And then we also look back at Rally Japan. But Connor, you had the opportunity to be at the lunch earlier today. This is Wednesday from we're recording this. Craig, very deserving winner.
Oh, listen, absolutely. You know, Ryan and Kyle, who were also shortlisted for the event, look, you know, fantastic lads. And, you know, for the small amount of time that they've all been competing, you know, they've a heck of a career behind them. But yeah, just Craig, you know, a really strong contender this year, has had some really good results and, you know, has basically come from rallying a Mark II straight into the Rally 4 and has really been very impressive, and again competed at, you know, mainly at home. He did Rally Carthagian. He also then went to Portugal as well during the year, getting that bit of international experience, and you can see it starting to pay off, as well as the work that he's been doing in the academy. For sure. And he's only been, like, you know, I think he's only done his first gravel event 15 months ago as well too, so definitely a star of the future, you know. So as we always say, the future's bright with the amount of hot young talent that's coming up through. And you get a chance to grab a very quick word with him at the lunch earlier today.
Craig Rahill, 2025 Billy Coleman Award winner. Congratulations. What does it mean to you?
That still sounds mad saying that, but yeah, it's just a true honour. There's so many names on this trophy that I've looked up to from a very, very young child, and having my name beside him is just a huge honour. And like previous winners of this award, I'll represent this award to the best of my ability, and hopefully this is only the beginning.
And has it begun to sink in yet?
Kinda, it's still fresh in my head, but it's unbelievable. I'm just speechless nearly. It's definitely the pinnacle of my career so far.
And look, early days yet, but have you any sort of plans yet for 2025, what you'd like to do?
We've nothing fully nailed down yet, but it will more than likely be out to Europe. But we'll sit down with the academy and we'll pick a programme that best suits me and gives me the best opportunity to progress to where I want to be in this sport.
And Craig, look, you know, these things don't happen on their own. I'm sure you have a team behind you that you want to say thanks to.
Yeah, there's so many people I need to thank that play a key role in me receiving this award, starting with my family. My brother Jason, who he pushed me to get into rallying, and he gave me his first rally car when I was 15 to get me started. And then since then, my father has made all my dreams a reality. Between himself and Philip, they've brought the car the length and breadth of the country, out to Wales and even out to Portugal. To Cyril McCullough, who's run the car for me from the very start, he's always given me a reliable car that's given me the ability to prove my pace and get results. To the main man beside me, Connor Smith, he's been with me from the very start, and he has just as much of a love and passion for this sport as I do, and he puts in just as much work as I do behind the scenes that's needed in this sport. And then of course to the academy in the last year. Without them, I definitely wouldn't be here today. They have been instrumental to my progression and development over the year, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be part of this great programme developed by Sean McHugh and John Fine.
So really looking forward to hearing now what Craig's got to announce as his plans now for 2025. No doubt it'll be very exciting. Killarney Historics last Saturday. We talked about it last week. We knew it was going to be epic, but I think even we underestimated how good it was going to be, Connor.
Oh, like the more stories I hear, the more people I talk to, the buzz around Killarney apparently was just epic. Like the place was hopping. And how lucky are we? Normally, if you hear there's a world champion coming to Ireland, they're in the sunset of their career, and when they were world champion was quite some time ago. But for to have current, I know Thierry Neuville now will take that mantle, but to have the current world champion, it's just incredible that Cali, took time out of, I know he's on a half year off, but that he's scheduled in or slotted in Killarney as one of the events he wanted to do. And from everything I hear, he certainly enjoyed it.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And not only Kelly, like we had, the Drift Kings as well too. Connor and Jack Shanahan, like they are the Kelly roving pairs of the drift world too. Like so. That brought an extra dimension to the event. Liam Regan, JWRC champion as well too. Don't forget as well too. So, like as I say, Kelly and Yanni, just the way they come and just got involved in the rally. They just didn't come and take part. They come and took over, really, didn't they? They just seemed to slot in and just as one of the lads, really.
Yeah, look, they completely chilled, relaxed, whatever it was. They were there for a good time, had a good time, but made sure everybody else around them was included in that. Like apparently they didn't stop signing autographs on anything and everything, and didn't shy away from anybody asking for a photograph at any point. They really were so amenable, and really just did slot in as if they were one of the Irish rallying regulars.
Yeah, and like I seen that, I think it was Dirtfish. He said it was the first time I've ever signed a baby. So there must have been all kinds of shapes and things getting threw at him to sign. And like I just love them kind of wee stories like that. There, yeah, and we all know how the story of how the rally panned out. I think it was a relay or something. Give Baller on the very first stage, and it didn't dampen the enthusiasm. Like he was determined to set fastest time up the gap. Then in the second run. Rob Duggan was determined not to let him do it. But isn't all those things just why we love rallying so much? All those twists, intrigues, stories, that's what it's all about.
Look, it is. And look, they were here for the crack. But heck, those guys are still going to be competitive whether they're here for the crack or not. And if there's a title or something to be claimed or, get the credit for, they're going to go for it. And in this case, if it wasn't going to be the overall win because of the issue with the relay, it was certainly going to be, can they take the, credit for being fastest up the gap?
Mm-hmm. And in a few minutes now we'll hear from Rob Duggan. Like the fact that the two boys come up and shook hands with Rob and Ger at the end of the rally, that just to me just spoke volumes. That was just the respect they had for their fellow competitor. They didn't take these guys as sure we'll come and show these Irish boys what it's all about. They just the respect that they give and were shown as well too.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, it went both ways, and certainly nobody went there with an attitude on on either side. We certainly our local competitors didn't have an idea that they were going there to show the world champions how it's done, and certainly our world champions didn't come here to rub the local guys' noses in it. So it was really all about fair play and just the spirit of rallying, proper grassroots, down to earth, having a bit of crack, having a bit of fun, and making the most of the opportunity.
For sure. And then, the historic rally as well too. Unbelievable, as we spoke last week to Anthony O'Connor, it started, back in the early noughties, and I think, was it 40 something historics? Last week, I think it was 74 historics started the rally. We keep saying, but Irish historic rallying is in such a good place.
It is. Look, it's just going from strength to strength, and this event has just gone from strength to strength. And it really, hopefully now, if it wasn't already on the international stage, which we know it was, it certainly, there's a mark has been made, and hopefully as the stories, get out and spread around about how good a time Callie had here, and all the things he got up to on the stages and in the competition, as those stories spread further, it's only going to do the rally's reputation anything, just to lift it that bit further.
Yeah, because it's already, it's become one of the, for the modified guys, it's one of those, crowns that they want, and it's the same for the historics, and that has to be, there has to be another level for it, whether that's European historic or whatever, I don't know, but there has to be something else there for them, because they have reached such a high level in Irish rally.
Yeah, absolutely. You would hope it becomes part of a larger championship somewhere. And if it does, that, the European crews, the international crews do make the boat journey across. It's probably a little bit out of the way of what they're typically doing in continental Europe. But you would hope they come here and maybe will want to come here. Now, having maybe watched onboard videos of Roving Para that they maybe, wouldn't have seen those stages, maybe just heard about them before, but have taken that bit of interest now because 2 times world champion's been here and, put his name on the gap.
For sure, for sure. And then, to the wonder of the historic Donagh Kelly, like, back in the winners' circle again too, like that's his first one since 2020. And never mind that, the co-driver, Rory Kennedy, he won his first international rally back in 1990 in an M3. And then, 34 years later, he's still doing it. That's crazy, like the same car 34 years later. That's class.
Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine what thoughts Rory had sitting in an M3, on the very stages he would have driven over, sitting beside Bertie Fisher in an M3, and for him to come back and compete with Donagh and to take the win. I can only imagine it must have been something very special for Rory, to do this.
Because Killarney has always been very special to Rory. He won it 6 times with Bertie, and then once then with Stephen Finlay. That was the proper the tarmac round as the Killarney rally. But like this rally, that's his first time winning the historics. But you'll hear now in a few minutes, it means the world to him to be back in the winner's circle as well too.
But that's it. And, there's no end to Rory's talents. Like, seriously, he's still competing and doing it at such a high level as well. There is no stone unturned when it comes to preparation for a rally, if Rory's involved. And, it's just incredible, and again with Donagh as well. Donagh's, not sitting, or he's not getting as much seat time as he did, previously, when he's not competing as much now. But look at that, look at the result, and atrocious weather conditions as well.
Yep, for sure. But anyway, let's hear from Donagh and Rory. Donagh, nice to be back in the winner's circle again.
I nearly forget what it was like. It's been 4 years since I won a rally, So it was nice. Of course, been back there at the front, So it would give you a little bit of encouragement to do more and more, So we all like winning.
Yeah, and Killarney Historic now has become one of the highlights of the Irish Rally calendar, and this year just exceeded all the expectations. Yes, Kelly Roving Para was there, him the co-driver, the Shanahans was there. There was a great vibe about Killarney over the weekend.
When you look at the Killarney Historic Rally and what it's become, and you first of all you probably have to pay tribute to Maurice Nagel for coming up with the concept and I suppose creating the event in the first case, and then of course Paul is now continuing that the legacy that his dad created by bringing the likes of Kelly Roving Para to the rally, and it's this event that has this party atmosphere, very, very relaxed, very, very inviting, enjoyable. The organisers created in that way. However, it's ultra competitive. Everybody wants to win, so as much as it's a party, it's good fun, it's great. Everybody wants to win. You want to win the historic or the modified section. And, if you look over the last few years, it's been really, really hotly contested, both sections. And yeah, it's something that is right up there in the top now, as in its prominence within Irish rally, and you get to hear of the guys talking about it out on the EHRC, and you'd love that in time maybe it could be included in the European Historic Championship, because it's every bit as good as any of the rounds that we attend. A little bit short maybe as a one-day event, whereas most of them are 2 or not 3-day events. But at the same time, the quality of the stages, the quality of the organisation, the facilities, etc. It's every bit as good, if not better, than some of the events that we go to. So, yeah, it's one that the Killarney District Motor Club really should be proud of.
For sure. And Rory, from your point of view, you done the lakes whenever it was in December, whenever it was the proper international rally, and how good it was. And the Baby Lakes has become a whole monster all of itself, as Donagh was saying there. Like, it's become the one that historic guys want to win. The modified, it attracts the cream of the crop there as well.
Yes, without a doubt, Kevin. As Donagh said, this event has become more than just an historic rally, or more than just another rally at the end of the season. For example, we had 74 starters in the historic section of the rally, and I think 100, maybe 140 or 50 in the modified section. So, in terms of popularity, like, everybody wants to be part of it, and everyone wants to be part of it and enter in that. But when you think about Moll's Gap, like, one of the most iconic stages, not only in Ireland, but right across Europe and beyond, like, and even Kelly Robin Perry, heard him say there that he just wanted to be fastest in Moll's Gap, and it was the stage he was most looking forward going to do. And he carries that with him now through the WRC and to all the other rallies that he does, and he will have a very good word on what Killarney was about and what the stages entailed. Like, so from that point of view, it's really, really good as well. Donagh and I have done the rally now 4 years on the trot. And I think the first year, Donagh, we were fourth, and maybe fifth or sixth the second year. And we managed second last year, and finally we managed to win it this year. So it's not an easy rally to crack, and I'll tell you what, everybody else wants to win it as well. So you really have to put a lot of work into it, and you really got to be on your game if you're going to be up there.
Yeah, because for all of the time the Killarney Historic Rally has been run, it's not a lifetime. But it started out, and it was I think it was about 40 historic cars entered it. To have something like 70-something cars competing, and probably 98% of that was Irish crews as well. So historic rallying has really took legs and become a whole movement of its own now at this stage too.
I would have to agree. I definitely have to agree. And not only that, Kevin, but the quality of the cars in that entry of 74 was unreal. Like, I know for us there was 8 BMW M3s there from Matt's stables in Holland, and Thomas Davies was there in a fantastic Escort, as was many other fantastic Escorts. Adrian Hetherington there in that Fiat 131. These cars are there's something else to see, and the popularity of this rally just grows from year on year, and Donagh says it'd be great if it was part of the HRC, the events we do in Europe. And he's absolutely right. Like, because if those drivers came to Ireland and sampled the stages we have, they'd be blown away by it. Like,
that's for sure. And Donagh, like, for you that has such a love of cars and one thing, to see that variety, like all those M3s, like the Fiat, like, it just must be like boyhood dreams almost.
Yeah, here, look, I suppose seeing the cars is one thing, hearing them compete, looking back at some of the footage of them competing, it's, and these cars, as much as they are, what would you say, old cars and that, they're being driven really, really hard, really, really competitively. And I was briefly spoke to Adrian Hetherington at the end of the rally. I was mad to see his car, and I just didn't get an opportunity. And like, that's such an iconic car, the 131, certainly in that colour scheme. Seeing cars like that actually out on their stages, like, it's a wonderful thing for the sport, And what's developing now is obviously we're back into the Group A era, when we see Ari-Matti Latvala has entered the European Historic Rally Championship next year in the Celica. The Subarus now can compete the Group A Subarus. And within another year, I think the world cars up to 2000 can compete. We're coming back into serious machinery again, that it's really, really fast. It's spectacular. We've got, I suppose, the sound. When we talk about BMWs and that, and people all weekend were talking about the sound, You hear the cars coming. I know your love for a Metro 6 or 4 is mainly driven by the sound of these things, and I think that is part of the attraction, because in the modern era of rallying, if we take the Rally 2 car or R5 as it had previously been, they're extremely fast, but they're not so spectacular. they're faster than the old world cars, but they're a little bit quiet. They're a little bit tame. They're not wild. The spectators love the sound, the vibrations, and the action of these cars. So I think this is part of why the historic rallying is becoming more and more popular, because it is bringing people back to enjoying something that was so spectacular for all of us, and I'm not taking away from the current Rally 2 cars now, because the drivers are, I'd say, more professional than people probably were back in domestic series 30 years ago, because the whole level has been lifted. The speeds are so fast, but it's precision driving and everything, whereas these cars, I think, offer a little bit more of a spectacle. So yeah, it's nice that we can have both.
Yeah.
I can't get in my head like a Group A Celica or even an Impreza as an historic car. Only seems like 10 minutes ago.
Sorry.
And like Rory, I know you I posted on social media like your first one with Bertie, in the tarmac round was the Rally of the Lakes in 1990, and an M3. And like 34 years later, you're back at it. Is that right? Kind of sometimes a wee bit hard to believe it's 34 years later?
Oh, it's very hard to take that in, Cam. Jesus, to think. I was even talking to Ivan Fisher about this yesterday, and we stayed in the Royal Hotel in Killarney way back in them days, and the Tough Mike team always stayed there. And in fact, I went around there on Thursday night just to visit them as well. But the M3 back then, of course, was in its heyday. And as you mentioned earlier, the Russians were there on that rally that year in 1990. But that was Bertie and me's first win together, and we won the Tarmac Championship actually on that event. Because not forgetting that Austin McHale was also on that event in an M3, but he broke down with 2 or 3 stages to go to the end. So, no, it's absolutely surreal to think that after all this time here, we're Donagh, me standing in the middle of Killarney, celebrating winning the rally in an M3, a car that we had used 34 years ago to win the rally outright. It's just, we've come full circle. It's almost, I don't know how you could even surmise that, but it's a wonderful thing, and I'm delighted that it happened. We also have, Kevin, don't forget in Killarney, one other thing that we didn't mention earlier, that Killarney's a wee bit unique, and it offers night stages as well for both the historics and the modified. And there's very few other stages or few other rallies, with maybe the exception of West Cork, that offer that. So that's a big attraction as well. And if you chat to most of the drivers, they love that night driving, and that's the atmosphere that Donagh spoke about as well.
Yeah, and Donagh doing the night stages with the old lights as well too. It wasn't just really.
Well, I think it was. You were going to the last stage. You had a lead built up. You didn't want to mess it up. I have to say the lights. When you're used to the more modern lights, you basically think that somebody switched them off driving with the old lights. But on reflection, I think if you were hunting down the lead in that, you would have got your night vision goggles on, and you would have overcome the disability. But the older lights certainly are a bit of a challenge, and maybe the age of my own lamps isn't helping either.
There's not much you can do about that. And even Donagh, from your point of view, like Rory won the rally back with them. Like, to hear Rory Kennedy's voice coming into your ears and you're going up the gap, is there a wee bit of you going, I'm Bertie Fisher here?
I suppose 4 years ago, I think it was the first time we done the rally. It was our first rally together, and it clicked immediately. It just worked. To be honest, I don't think I've done a rally with anybody else since then. And I suppose when you get on with somebody, it's a great starting point. But when you have somebody as competent and professional as Rory sitting beside you, it just makes the whole thing so enjoyable. And yeah, I remember doing, I think it was maybe Cara Lake or whatever the stage we done. And it was just pinpoint accuracy the whole way through 4 years ago. And I was thinking, yeah, I know why you're so good. I know why you have your victories, because it's just, it's like precision engineering, you know. So for me, it's a delight. And it's, yeah, here, of course, it's an honour. Some people who are not into rallying would ask me about my co-driver, you know, and it's a great thing to say. Well, he is the best co-driver in Ireland, without a shadow of a doubt, you know, and his record stands for that. So when you have the best co-driver in the country sitting beside you, you've no excuses. You know? So the rest of us down to you, you know.
And like, has the victory at the weekend, is that kind of relit the fire again, though, most kind of thing as well?
Here, you know, I think, you know, one of the disappointments of the weekend was obviously Eamon's retirement, and certainly when we got the phone call, and fair play to John O'Donnell, you know, he phoned Rory straight away, say, look, Eamon's off the road, both the guys are fine, nothing to worry about. Your heart sinks, in as much as I wanted to win. I always wanted Eamon to win as well, you know, and if there could have been two winners, that would have been the right result. But you know, if both of us had been on the podium, it would have been very, very special, whether you'd be first or second. So yeah, I suppose there was a little bit of the gloss taken off by Eamon not finishing, but that doesn't take away from what we achieved ourselves. And we done all the work on the first 6 stages, and certainly on the likes of Ballabima. I knew to have a big push there both times, and yeah, that's, you kind of work a strategy on any rally, and you'll always pick the stages or the stage to really, really put a bit of a dent in the whole thing. And yeah, so when we came off the second loop, I knew we had a good cushion with 2 stages to go, and it was a matter of managing it from that point, you know. So, but yeah, it gives you maybe a little bit of self-belief that, you know, you still have some bit of this. And of course, the whole COVID period kind of removed me from what was the top level, you know, because when we had the polo first, I think we were 3rd in Galway that year. We were 1st in Mayo. We were still competing close to the top. We only done, I think, 4 events in the car, and we had won 2 events, and we're in the podium in 2 events. So then COVID happened, it all stopped, and, you know, I just never really went back at that level. But yeah, again, of course, winning is a great drug, you know. So if we could continue that, it'd be nice.
For sure. And like, you know, Rory, Donagh says, like, you know, they having you sit beside him, but like, you know, you having him controlling the car, and you know, you have to have complete faith in him that he's going to do as he's told, and you know, drive within his limits. And it must be very reassuring to see that he's doing what you're telling him to do.
Yeah, absolutely right, Kevin. But in fairness, when you have drivers the caliber of Donagh's a champion driver, like, and won numerous rallies, and there's nothing to prove to anybody. Like, he's a very capable driver, and I have 100% trust in him anyway, and he seems to have 100% trust in me too. But anyway, you know, I would say about our notes, when we make the notes, and I often say this to Donagh, we never change the angle. Like, once we make the first run through the stage, and if it's a 3, well, that corner will remain a 3. It will never become a 4. It will never become a 2. He's very, very accurate on the actual angles of the corner, which is all important, obviously, when you're making them, because when you hit those corners at speed, all need to be right. So I have to give him great credit for that. And also, he stood out enormously for me when he drives in the wet. He's a brilliant driver in the wet and the rain, and the conditions that we've had in Killarney this weekend were treacherous conditions, obviously. And he drove brilliantly there, as he did in the Czech Republic earlier in the year when we drove on the Valtra rally, you know. So, you know, full credit. And it makes my job very easy, because I know he can just do it, and he's capable of it. And it's a joy to drive with at this stage of my career. I'm near the end of my career than the beginning of my career. I was delighted to be asked when Donagh rang me up to do Killarney Rally 4 years ago, I just only had 1 second to think about it before I said yes. But in saying that, we did a good few rallies this year. And like there was 1 or 2. We had a bad accident out in Spain earlier in the year, and you chat about the ups and downs of rallying throughout the season, and that was a real downer, and it took a while to recover from that fully and get back at it again. But it's always great to finish the season with a win, because it gives you that good buzz that Donagh chats about there, and sort of makes you think about what's to come or what we do next year again. Maybe we'll have some more of this, because there's nothing like the winning feeling, to give you the motivation to go again. So I'm delighted. I'm delighted to be part of the team with Donagh and Mats and Paul Flanagan and VSM. We all work very well together, and it's a great opportunity for me at this stage of my career to be able to do this, and I'm very grateful to Donagh for that.
Yeah, and Rory, are you still getting that same buzz from winning there at the weekend as you did 34 years ago?
Well, 34 years ago was the first rally I won. But I would have to say, going up Malls Gap the first time, Donagh, going up Malls Gap this year, we were going up attacking them corners and getting stuck in, reading the notes, and really concentrating. But on one side of my brain, I was thinking, this is friggin' class. I love this, like the speed, the noise, the power of the car, and the whole embrace, to embrace that moment where things are going well. That's why we do it. Like for me, rallying is from the start of the stage to the end of the stage. Everything else I could take or leave, but the stage is what it's all about. And I definitely got that buzz in Killarney at the weekend again.
Yeah, because 4 years ago, whenever we recorded our chat, about your career, you said then the M3 was the car. That was the one that you always highlighted, and this was long before that Mats or anybody was on the scene. It always was the standout car for you.
Oh, for sure. I have very fond memories going way back. The first rally I did with Bertie, really in the modern era, was on the M3. We did the Manx National Rally, and we won it first time out. And our very next rally was the Donagh against David Llewellyn, and we were a close second, but we didn't win. And our third Donagh together our second Donagh together was against Austin McErlean that famous year in 1990 when we lost the rally with a 10-second penalty, do you remember? So from that resonates with me, that car, the capabilities of that car, the sound of it, the performance of it, the way Bertie used to drive it, it absolutely resonates with me. And I get that when we're in this car with Donagh, and it's fantastic to see that there was 8 or 9 of them in Killarney again. It's, people are cottoning on to this. This is the yoke to have.
And Donagh, the last time we spoke as well, we said about Mats and the car he was turning out and the professionalism of it. Between Mats and then Paul, as Rory mentioned there from VSM, the team you have around you, they almost lift the car and carry it for you because they want to win as much as you do.
Yeah, for sure. And I've been lucky. I started with Paul Flanagan over 20 years ago, and the record has been great. Paul and the team put in a huge amount of effort, and certainly for this event, where I probably was a little bit more up for this than I've been in a long time, and I'd asked the guys to go the extra mile on a couple of things like a bit of testing and night testing, and we put a bit of effort into it, and it was no problem for the guys. Whatever I wanted, and of course we spoke about Mats Van der Brandt in the past. He runs probably the most professional team running the BMW in the world. They know every nut and bolt on these cars, and to give you an idea of how professional these guys are, I went to see them on Sunday, where I was on the way home. They were in a Hearns garage in Castle Island prepping the cars. That's before they took them home. They had the cars stripped, they were washing them, cleaning them, because their boat wasn't to the next day, and they were taking the opportunity to have as much work done as they could before they went back to the Netherlands, and these guys take these cars all over Europe for us, and some of these journeys are huge for them, whether they're down in Spain or Italy or Greece, whatever, and none of it's a problem, and you don't hear anybody complaining about the 2-day drive they've had with vans and everything to get your car down. And again, nothing is a problem. Nothing's a problem. And it's a credit to Mats and Mark and the wider team, Stig, and they just, like I say, you're right. They just lift everything is sitting there for you when you arrive, and it's as professional as any team. I would even say it's in the World Championship. What they do. And then when we're at home, we enjoy a similar service from VSM, Paul and Nick and Willie and the wider team. They really do look after as well.
For sure. And then I suppose before we finish up as well, Killarney, the way the community took it on, the people, and they're used to dealing with large crowds of people, but like Friday night just looked phenomenal, as did Saturday night. The way that whole town just seemed to just embrace the rally. It's just a lot of rallies could learn from that.
Yeah, look, I think there's the opportunity, and speaking to the organisers and to Alan Ring, who obviously their family is one of the big hoteliers there wasn't a room to be found in Killarney at the weekend. Everything was booked out. Accommodation was booked out as far as Killarney and beyond. So the economic benefit to the community is absolutely huge. But yeah, the motor club itself, like Anthony O'Connor, has proven time and time again he is a very formidable COC. But the team around him, again, they're all working together. They have a great bond. And then you see some of the neighbouring clubs all in beside them, helping them as well. So there is a common motorsport and rallying, I suppose, community coming together to create what is an iconic event at this stage. The local, I suppose, chamber and the town council, that's, they close off their main streets and they allow this party to happen where everybody gets stuck in. And as a driver, when you're coming down a main street and there's a huge crowd at a ceremonial start, and it's pretty electric, when it gets you fired up and you're looking forward to it, so, and they do it in an efficient manner, whereas you're not there all night. It's you get down, you do your 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're gone. It doesn't really interfere with anything you're planning and that, but I think the benefit to the community outweighs any of the disruption that may be associated with hosting an event like that, so, and that's what maybe we need to remind ourselves of, is that communities can benefit from these events in more ways than one, so and if we advertise and promote events on that basis, we might get more and more buy-in from the wider community and the general public.
For sure. And Rory, I suppose final last word to you. Like, you have been rallying now for a long time, and like there was a few quiet years for rallying, but rallying's back. We've seen the crowds there, on Saturday. But in general, this year the crowds has been very good. But that was just unbelievable there at the weekend. Do you get a sense of that even in the car?
Oh, we absolutely do. Yeah, when we arrived at the gap up the very top, the gap on Moll's Gap on Saturday morning, I had a wee sneaky look around. I couldn't believe about the people that were there just at that particular location. But you must remember as well, Kevin, when the Killarney Historic Rally is an enormous rally in normal times. When you bring Kelly Rovenpera to the rally, it just blows it out of the atmosphere completely. And not only that, because Kelly Rovenpera was there, it also brought Dirtfish there. And Dirtfish are, well, for anybody who doesn't know, Dirtfish are probably one of the official outlets for the WRC, or one of the official teams who do a lot of PR in the WRC. So they came to Killarney and they had it on their platform, which is absolutely enormous, like gigantic reach. And they've done some, in fact, David Evans wrote an incredibly complimentary article to the Killarney Motor Club and to the rally in general, and Rovenpera and everything about the rally. And if anybody gets a chance, they should read that, because it really, really epitomises what happened in Killarney at the weekend. So it's great only to see them crowds. Kevin, rally feet in Ireland seems to be in very healthy state. When you look at that modified entry, you look at the historic entry, and it's great to see it and great to be part of it, and we're absolutely delighted to see that.
Always a pleasure there to chat to Donagh and Rory, and that great to see the fight back in the two guys as well. Then, as we mentioned earlier, the modified rally as well too. Like Rob Duggan, another title there for him. Didn't get it easy, the milkman pushed him hard, but still the master of the gap. He beat everybody bar Roven Parra. What can we say? Like, he just knows that road so well, and he makes it count. It's all right knowing the road, but you have to make it count. And we've asked him what the secret of the gap is. Just drive each corner as it comes, and it works. But what can we say about Rob that hasn't been said before? He probably deserves to be at a higher level, but he's just loving his rallying at the minute, and just was relishing the opportunity for Roven Parra, the milkman, Daniel McKenna, whoever, come and play with me in my playground.
That's it, like in his own backyard. And again, not intimidated at all by the fact he's a 2 times world champion, challenging him for King of the Gap. But just incredible. Like, we know what Rob's like in an escort. He really is a master. But I just can't get over, there was feck all room for error out there in that weather conditions, and just the pace those guys were on was just incredible.
That's for sure. And Declan Gallagher has been one of the stars this year for me. He hasn't done an awful lot of rallying, but look at the results he's had in the events he's competed in. Just phenomenal. And he's just like a fine wine, and the older he's getting, the better he's getting. So and then Colin Donagh. Colin, he was to come on the podcast, but unfortunately he couldn't make it at the last minute. But every time Kellyanne or Randy was speaking to him, he always seemed to be on the wrong tyres. But to still take third overall just speaks volumes for the talent he had. And the engine now just sounds absolutely class. Anybody, if they can recommend, go and listen to it. There's a few clips going around of Colin's Escort, and it just sounds magic. So that's definitely a very special engine he has there too. And then we mentioned earlier too, the Shanahans, Conor and Jack Shanahan. Conor's first time in a 2.5 Escort. Yes, he's used to a lot more power, but as you say, them conditions were atrocious. And he still come away, I think, 13th, 14th overall, something like that. Brilliant result, really. Yeah, Jack was just in front of him as well. Jack, I think, was 12th or 13th maybe, so...
Yeah, I think Conor was 12th overall, and himself and Andy Hayes, a fantastic result. And again, a guy that got very little rallying seat time. Okay, yeah, look, he's a drift king, all right, and I'm sure he would have needed every inch of his talent in that weather, that they had on the stages. But fair play, you have to say hats off.
Yeah, for sure, that is definitely. So I think, anyway, without any further ado, we'll catch up with first. You'll hear from Rob Duggan, then Declan Gallagher, and then Andy Hayes. It's the Monday after Killarney Historic Rally, and Rob, you took another one at the weekend. But what conditions? It was a crazy day, but a really enjoyable day from your point of view, I would say.
Yeah, most of it was, to be fair. We had our couple of issues throughout the day, but to be fair, for the word go, everyone kind of knew the conditions were going to be fairly mixed, and I think everyone just wanted to get stuck in and get rallying and try and beat each other on the stages. There was great hype around the place, even from going back to scrutiny, coming into town, apart from going to the ceremonial start. It was just a buzz that I hadn't seen in a long time in rallying, I think, and I'd say most of the lads would agree that there was some hype about the place. It was just class from the word go, really.
Yeah, you're a Killarney man. To see that in your hometown, the world champion coming to play, that must give you immense pride in the way your town took this on and the way they embraced the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. It was class to get him to Killarney. I suppose the hype of bringing anyone to Ireland would nearly be to Donagh or somewhere if they got their way. But it was great for Killarney to try and pull this one off and get him here. And it's great to get the likes of Declan there and Kevin and all the local lads there to come out and try and give him a race and show the 2-time world champion what Irish rallying has to offer and modified rallying. I think he he took fairly well. To be fair to him, he was on the pace from the word go. But yeah, I think he got shown pretty nicely what we're about at the weekend, and I think there was no lad holding back by any means. And yeah, it was just class to see.
Yeah, because Declan, like, you know, when are you ever going to get an opportunity to go up against a two times world champion equal machinery? Like, it's probably never going to happen again in any of our lifetimes, really, is it?
No, definitely not. No, like as I said before, like I kind of nearly had my quota in for the year until I heard that that he was coming to Killarney and I started. So you wouldn't miss it for the world, like, and you know, it goes to show like the crowds that I drew in that for the weekend, and no, it was class to be able to be in the middle of it, like.
Yeah, and like not only to be in the middle of it, like to be up there, and yeah, you know, it was very unfortunate. You know, he had his trouble on the first stage, but like it didn't take away from the event at all. Like if anything, I think it maybe even added to it because like he just and he could just let it go and just go out and enjoy himself, and he really seemed to like enjoy the crack with all you guys as well between the stages and as well as the driving.
Aye, definitely. Like it's a pity, I suppose, that the car did stop on the first stage, you know. But probably from his point of view, the pressure was off a wee bit then, and you know. But no, it was good to see somebody of that. It was good to be able to gauge yourself against somebody of a world level, you know, and a very similar car. And you know, it was the crack was good between the stages and that, and a good old laugh going like with all the boys.
For sure. And like Andy, not only was Kelly Rovenpera there as well, like the Shanahans are like in the drifting world, they are the Kelly Rovenpera of the drift world. And like you had the opportunity to sit in along with Connor, and like the hype that was around him as well, a local lad and doing so well, that must have been pretty special for you.
Yeah, it was great experience to sit in and just see different type of driving. To be fair to Connor, like it's only his second rally, but the car control is unbelievable. Got up the gap the first time. I'd say we're only about a kilometre in. We had our first bit of a moment, and he saved it one-handed. And I said, "Sure, we'll be grand today anyway." There's no great panic here. So no, it was very enjoyable, you know. And it was good, I suppose, all day long as the day went on. He got more and more used to the notes, more and more used to kind of know what he was doing, and the pace picked up along. So it was a grand way just to spend a day really enjoying ourselves, and the result actually wasn't bad in fairness to him. So all around was a brilliant weekend. And then, as Rob said, then back into town that evening for a good atmosphere, a well party.
Yeah, and like not only on the Saturday night the party, but like the Friday night, the whole we often talk about Killarney Historic starts Christmas, but like the crowds this year, I only just was watching it online, but it just looked absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it was damn near as good as Wexford, I'd say.
Nearly.
Oh, that's called it. It was brilliant crowd to see around. It's the biggest crowd I've seen around for a ceremony start or anything like that ever in my time anyway. Maybe way back in the 90s or something, it was bigger than that, but it's the biggest I've seen in a long, long time. To be fair to the club, they did a really good job, I think, bringing it into where they did. Based in around the plaza, and just there's plenty of pubs around there, plenty of entertainment, plenty of restaurants, and all that. So it's just a great place to have a crowd and have an atmosphere. And I was there on Friday night, but I was told that there was a great crowd around, and I was out for Saturday night. Now there's definitely a big crowd around. So I think the whole thing has worked out really well there.
Yeah, and for somebody like Connor, stepping into like a 2.5 Escort, they're not the most easy to drive cars to get the best out of them, but he did really seem to take to adapt to what, as you said, a bit of a moment on that, within a kilometre at the start. But overall through the day, he didn't seem to get flustered. He seemed to take it all in his stride.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was surprised really because normally when someone's first or second rally, they're always struggling with the notes and struggling to take it in, and it's all coming down too quick, and they're trying to concentrate on the car and they're trying to concentrate on the notes, and it all becomes a bit much for him. But there's no bother to the lad. He's well able to concentrate, well able to take it all in, and as I said, just enjoy himself. Fair play to the lads there, to Declan and Rob, and to all the boys. That's a serious pace they're on. It's one thing doing it in a Rally 2 car or whatever, war car, but it's another thing doing it in those jokes. I tell you. you wouldn't want to be what you call it. You wouldn't be nervous anyway. But it is some goals, to be fair, when it's all going well, there's no feeling like it, and you can really feel the speed, and you can feel what the car is doing, and you can feel the car moving and all the rest, and it's just it's electric, I have to say.
For sure. And Rob, even in the build up to the event, it's what's Kelly going to do on the gap? Will he be able to beat Rob? Did that bring a different dimension for you? Before the start, was it a different kind of nerves this time, or did you just have to put all that to the back of your head and just try and drive the stage as best as you always do?
I suppose Luke probably did bring some small bit of pressure. There was a lot of talk around before who'd start first, would he start or would I start, and they decided to put me first in the road, and people were asking me that, what's it like with him starting behind, but sure, if it was Declan Gallagher starting behind me or Kevin Eves, them boys are going to come up the road and try and catch me just as much as Kelly would, so it's kind of, I don't really think of it like that. I just think of, I have to go around the corner as hard as I possibly can, and if I can get around that one, get around the second one, and keep going all the way to the finish line. And if it works out, it works out. If he catches me, he catches me. If he doesn't, he doesn't. It wasn't really what I was I wasn't looking in my mirrors in a way. That's just the way I go. I stay going for as long as I can, and hopefully we get out the other side of it. But I suppose there was that little bit of added pressure, but at the end of the day, I didn't have much to lose. If I beat him, I beat him, and if I didn't, he's a two-time world champion. So it's either way, it's all good to me.
And we know you had your problems with the throttle sensor. Did that affect? Did it affect the performance of the car, or was it more the feeling you were getting in the car?
I did the second and third stage there. I suppose I have to give some excuse because Declan claimed me in the look, it did affect us a small bit, but nothing too major. It just made the car very snappy, and the slow stuff of Ballabima, and it was in my head for Car Lake. But when we got it right for the second loop, we said we better try and make some shape at Declan here, because if he'd stay going the way he was on the first loop, we'd be fighting for split seconds going into the last two stages. So we said we better try and come back and try and match him at least anyway. And we were pretty close anyway. He still pipped us on Ballabima and Car Lake, I think. But it was just a great race. When it's down to seconds like that, it's class racing. That's what we all go for.
Yeah, and Declan, the last few years, you mentioned the word, Moll's Gap. You immediately think of Rob Duggan, how much is he going to take out of us going up the stage? Can you do anything different, or how do you approach it differently, or do you just have to, as he says, take each corner as it comes to you?
I suppose the gap will be a fairly daunting kind of a stage, but it's not. I can't say it's a stage that I don't like. It's just it's very hard to get it bang on. I think maybe the second run of the gap. It was the heavy rain on it. With a bit of a big moment on it. We were going well enough up into that, but I think that knocked the wind out of me a bit, after having that moment. But I could see Rob's lines in the rain, and I was there thinking to myself, there was one time I would say it was a full car what's out from his lines, and I says, how the hell is he getting in there? But no, it's I definitely enjoyed it, but it's hard when he takes a good chunk of time with you, but that's the way it is.
I said it's a John McCarthy at the end of the Moll's Gap that time. I said, I'm getting a minute the next time. I'm not showing you my lines no more.
Studied now this time, isn't it?
I'll have to see that.
I've been practicing a long time to get them lines, for fuck's sake.
I'll have it on that car now,
You can make some money selling it when other boys want to see it as well, I would say. Pay-per-view.
That's what I said to Jason Black at the finish ramp. I said, no, he's no excuse. He's in car 1.5 seconds quicker than my second time up there, so he's no excuse now.
Rob, it was going to happen. Kelly was going to find his groove, and but to be only to beat you by was it 1.5 seconds or whatever it was, that must give you a great feeling. This guy coming 2-time world champion, yes, a different car and all, but like it didn't annihilate you, it didn't clean you. Like 1.5 seconds is nothing.
No, definitely. It was. I was still 4 seconds quicker up there the first time. Lads are forgetting about that. But no, look, it's class. And like I said, if anyone was going to beat me up there, I'll take it that the 2-time world champion is going to beat me up there. It's I've dragged it along, and I've taken a chunk of time out of there a good few times now at this stage, you could say. But I suppose I put a lot of practice in when I was young fella. I suppose that's paying off now. But no, it was class. It was class for him to jump into that car and go up there in his second run and be beating me by 1.5 there. Hats off. I don't care if he's a 2-time world champion or anything else. It's hats off to anyone. I've been up there. I can't even remember how many times in a Mark II Escort, like, and I know what way they're going to go and what way they're going to handle and where the slippy bits are and where the good bits are. And he jumped in and just annihilated us. That's mental, but sure, I suppose it just shows what the talent he has. He's just he's superhuman.
Yeah.
It just showed. Even today, he was jumping into a drift car, and he was door to door with some of the best drifters in the world today, and having a bit of crack. So it's not just rallying, or it's not just starlets he's cooking. He's just anything he gets his hand on with a steering wheel and 4 tires. He's just naturally talented, and that's it.
Yeah, because like we've seen this year, he's took the year, he's done the half season, he's done drifting, he's done racing, he's done, rallying, all the different disciplines he's stepped into, and he just seems like, just as you say, a natural behind the wheel, really, isn't it?
He's natural at drinking too. We fell out the door to grind at 6 o'clock Sunday morning, so it was. He's pretty good at that too for a little fella. There was a good couple of sick hits Sunday morning by us all, but that was all good crack too.
Yeah, because Declan, we kind of forget this guy's only 24 years of age. Like he's just a young fella out and enjoying life, and like rallying, it's just something he's good at, isn't he?
I know, yeah. Jesus, like as I said, nobody handed him 2 world championships. Like, he got there the hard way. Like, and as Rob would have said, like he's a talented lad, and he's like it'll be, I'd say, like the way he's going, it'll be very hard for a lot of them WRC boys to stop him in years to come too. Like, so no, it was great to experience the whole thing at the weekend. Like,
yeah, because like Andy, we've been all the talk, this past 12 months or whatever, about WRC coming to Ireland and all. This put a lot of eyeballs on Ireland. Like we've seen the reaction online, the numbers that Killian and Andy were getting, the Dirtfish coverage, like it's. And it was all really, really positive. Nobody come away from that saying, this was wrong or that was wrong. Or like Killarney come away from it looking really well. The Irish rallying just in general, like it was all such positive vibes coming from it all.
Yeah, we were just saying the other day, when you see the atmosphere that was down there for the weekend, the crowd that was around, and just the kind of the party that was on for the weekend. Imagine what it'd be like if it was a WRC that was over. If that's what one man can do, imagine what the whole circus would bring, and what the whole county would be like, not just one town or the whole region probably would be like. So, yeah, it'd be brilliant to see it. I don't know where that stands at the minute. That the whole thing, the whole bid. I know they're still working on it. So hopefully they can pull something together. It's obviously getting later and later for 2026 now at this stage, and they're running out of time eventually as well. But hopefully they do, because I think, as you said, it showed to the world at the weekend and across Dirtfish and all those channels just what there is to offer here. And then someone or anyone looks at that on board of Cali going up the gap, I think it's impressive for anyone that was into rallying to say they'd love to see the best in the world in something like that.
Mm-hmm. And even to watch the NCR when he passes Rob Duggan at the puncher. Like, obviously, because they're running 2 and 3 minute gaps, and he's not used to catching anybody on the stage, and like the sheer joy of passing somebody, it was like in my head, I'm going, geez, this guy's a professional, but oh no, he's not. He's a young fella just having a crack here.
Yeah, and the fact he's in a right-hand drive car is not used to it. I don't know. I reckon it was more of a kind of a laugh to say, geez, I'm surprised to still have the left-hand side of the car than
And like, but that, even like, I'm even thinking for Yanni sitting alongside him, he's on the wrong side of the car. Like this weekend, you were on the wrong side of the car as well. Does that take a wee bit of getting used to as well?
You can ask my brother that now. He bought a Rally 3 car at the start of the year, and he did one rally, and the repair bill will tell you exactly what that's like. I don't know, yeah, like for sure, anyone that I've ever sat with that wasn't used to left-hand drive, when they went to over left-hand drive, they found it very difficult. Yeah, it's grand in a road car, and it's grand going at normal speed and all the rest, but when you get onto a fast stage, you're trying to take a line, and you're trying to just cut in at the right amount. It's very, very difficult when you're on the wrong side of the road, on the wrong side of the car, just to judge those types of things. And then when they have a bit of a moment or anything like that, and you're so used to the handbrake and the gear sticking on one side and all that kind of stuff, just anything that throws your kind of your natural way of doing things off, I think is a big thing. So, like I said, there's many men, good drivers all over the years that'll tell you, changing over to the other side of the car, and it just hasn't gone well for him. So, I suppose it's just another impressive thing I think that Callie did. I think most drivers in his position would have said, no, I'm not doing it unless I get left-hand drive, and they would have kind of set the terms, but there was no bother to the lad.
And then even from a co-driver's point of view, like as a whole, you talk about the driver, the way they react and all that. Like from your point of view, the weekend you were sitting on, the passenger seat on the wrong side. Like you only had that to deal with. Did you find it difficult?
No, it's a bruise on my left arm from banging off the roll cage. I haven't done much modified rallying for a good few years, but you forget how close everything is, how close the windows are, and how close you are to the windscreen and all the rest. You're just thinking to yourself, it could be very close to the trees here now, something goes wrong. So, what you call it? I think Callie said as well, he said he couldn't believe it. He got into the car and he could touch every window on it. I said, there's lads like Chris O'Callaghan, they're licking every window on it.
You can't be throwing things like that now when he's not here to defend himself.
I gave it to him directly the other day as well, so it's all right. It's the big lad.
But Rob, that just typifies, you often talk about the slagging that goes on between the stages and the crack. And like Kelly and Yanni just seem to slot in there as if they've been there forever.
There's no doubt about that. I think we got to, I'd say it was Carl Lake, the first run, I think was it Declan. He came down and within a couple of seconds he heard that we were all slagging each other, and he kind of joined in fairly quick and that settled in. And after that he was up every time, and there was good jokes and laughing and having the crack. So it's class. That's what we all go rallying for, I suppose. When the helmet goes on, we're all trying to beat each other, but it's when the helmet comes off that there's a bit of crack and a bit of help each other out and get each other all through the rally and get to the finish. That's the most important thing. So yeah, no, it was a class weekend.
Yeah, and Declan, was it a kind of like pinch yourself almost, like you're standing there slagging off a 2-time world champion?
I suppose I know the crack was good, and I would say enjoyed the crack. The normal slagging that he's going on between stages, I fit it in well now. In fairness.
Mm-hmm. And like Rob, what really got me was at the end of the last stage, he was up, shook your hand. Nobody told him to do that, and nobody, says, "Oh, that'll look good for the cameras," or nothing like that. This was showing respect of what you had done for the day, really. Yeah,
it was class. Jesus, Killian was saying it at the time. That is a pure, as you say, pinch me moment. I don't think it'll happen too often from now on. So. Yeah, I definitely remember it, and it'll be one it's a big weekend, the whole thing. It's from start to finish, from Friday up until half an hour ago till I get in the door here. It's just been a kind of a dream weekend, really. It's just, yes, to go out and win the rally was class. To go out after, be inside a pub till 6 o'clock in the morning, drinking with a 2-time world champion, and getting up this morning and drifting around a place in a load of cars. It's just mad crack, the whole thing, that he's just here, and he's one of the boys sitting down having a drink, or he's one of the boys sliding around the cars here, and it's like he's gone back, and we'll see him on the TV next week again inside a Yaris. It's just been class from the word go. It was just a mental weekend that we won't forget very quick at all.
And did you get an opportunity to sit in with either himself or Connor in the drifting as well, just to see how they do that?
Yeah, we were in with them all today. It was mental. There was, I think, 4 of them at one stage. Jack Shanahan, Connor Shanahan, James Dean, and Kelly all on the line around the place in 4 yokes. And yeah, there was a good couple of clips and bits of crack. It was just the bent of it all. And to see that side of that sport, I jumped in with Jack Shanahan first thing this morning, and we just landed there, and he said, "Come on away, we'll go for an old spin here. We'll see what this yoke is like." He was driving an old 350Z or something, and we went out. The next thing, I think it was, I don't know who came up beside us. I think it was Connor. And within half a lap, the two boys were 5 mil apart, like rubbing the wheels off each other's cars and nudge each other around the track. And I was like, this is mental carry on. We're so used to 30 seconds apart. You never see some other fella in the stage. And now I was looking out the passenger window and Connor was looking in at me, nudging me down the road. I was like, this is just a mad sport. Like, but it was class to see how skilled the boys are too. And when myself and Christopher went out and tried it in the escorts, we weren't long putting it back in and leaving the boys at it again because it's an art in itself. It's class to see what they can do too, and it's no wonder all the boys are good drivers. It's no wonder Connor can slide around the place like he can there and jump into a car. He's used to 1,000 horsepower and he jumps into that at whatever 300, 350 horsepower. When it steps sideways, he's used to going sideways, so I suppose it takes no notice for him. He's pulling the handbrake at 100 miles an hour all the time. So we're trying to stay away from the handbrake as much as we can. So I suppose it's not bothered him in that sense. But huge credit to all the boys. They're class drivers, and good crack for the day, that's for sure.
So thanks to them 3 boys. Like we keep saying it, those end the stage starts must be epic listening to the banter between them boys, and then have 2 Finnish blokes stuck in the middle of that giving them jip then too. It must have been magic, So Connor, we spoke last week to Luke Barry about Rally Japan, and you get a chance to catch up with some of the competitors.
Yeah, what do you call it? We were hoping to have Aaron and Josh on last week, but obviously with flight times and time differences and everything, they weren't home before we had finished recording for the podcast. However, I did get the chance then to catch up with both of them. So Aaron had a fantastic result with Taka, coming in 4th overall in the end. Josh, unfortunately, who had been challenging for, he was in 3rd, possibly challenging for a 2nd place in the WRC2 category, just had an issue on the Saturday morning where they just went in too deep in a cut, hit a tree stump, ripped the wheel off. And that, unfortunately, they had to come back under Super Rally. But again, when he came back on the Sunday, set some cracking times. Really was very, very impressive. On his first time in Japan as well, Kevin. Yeah. But there was a chance to catch up and kind of get their stories from, what they thought of the event, how it went for them, etc. So we'll listen to Aaron, and then that'll be followed by Josh. So, Aaron, you have to be happy with Japan. Like, it was a really solid result for you.
Yeah, definitely. After a difficult summer, let's say, to come back in Central Europe with 4th place and bet ourselves back in again ahead of the big one in Japan. I think we did exactly what we needed to do, and happy how it all turned out, of course, with another 4th place in Japan. Yeah, of course, we were hoping for more, let's say, but that was sort of quickly taken away when we got the puncture in stage 1 and dropped, 1 minute and 10. But to fight back and finish as close to the podium as we did, was it 7 seconds or whatever behind Adrian? I think we can be very pleased with what we achieved.
And look, there was a lot of pressure that weekend. It was a home event for Toyota. Everything was down to the wire with regard to the Manufacturers' Championship. How was that? And I suppose combined with the atmosphere of being in Japan and all the excitement and the fans from seeing it on TV just looked incredible.
Yeah, it is a brilliant event. It's always one of the ones we earmark at the start of the season that we look forward to, and to finish the year in Japan is always special. So to go there with a massive fight on our hands to try and pull back the manufacturer's title, of course, everybody was under pressure and everybody was extremely motivated and determined to make that happen. And we knew we needed a little bit of luck to go our way. And already from the first stage, when ourselves and Seb got a puncture, it was looking pretty bleak, but nobody gave up. We gave it everything we had, and it all went down to the power stage on Sunday. And as everybody knows, we pulled it back and ended up winning it for Toyota for the 4th year in a row. So a superb weekend when you consider how many points we were behind to come back and win it by 3. It was a very special feeling, and sitting watching the power stage in the tent with Marizo-san and Haruna-san and obviously Taka and Seb and Vincent and Yonne, it was surreal to wait for Elvin to cross the finish line when we at this point knew all he had to do was get there. So it was a nervous few moments, but one that was really enjoyable with the way it turned out.
And look, we saw how Japan can bite back. Like, was it a shock or a surprise on Sunday morning to hear Oit had gone out?
This place that Oit had his accident, let's say, it was a tricky corner, and it was a new section of the stage that we had never done before. So it was our first time over it, and it was actually a corner that Taka had marked to check the video before we went in on the second pass. So obviously there was something about it. Maybe it was a surface change or there was more pollution on the road than we were expecting. But yeah, a tricky place, and it was one that we even noticed before Oit had his accident.
And like, obviously it increases the confidence when one of your major rivals has gone out for those manufacturer points. But I suppose you can't get too cocky in the car either.
No, of course. With the way the point system was this year, it was really, really difficult to make a gap unless somebody made a mistake on a Sunday. And for us in Toyota, Seb had a few bad events there and was really unlucky. And of course, everybody knows with the rock that put Kalle off the road in Finland. And both of these happened on a Sunday. And Hyundai, let's say, didn't have so many issues up until the final round in Japan. And it really was down to the wire for us to pull it back. But let's say, I think us as competitors and for the fans especially to bring the manufacturer's title as well as the driver's title to the final round, it keeps it very exciting.
And look, obviously there was that drama and excitement that it all went down to the wire, but it has to be that bit more special that you're doing it in Toyota's home turf, to bring it home. And, I suppose with the factory and the team and the, just the management and everybody there, around you, like it must be like a party atmosphere almost, is it?
Yeah. It was a surreal feeling. And like I said, the power stage tent, the atmosphere was incredible, and waiting on the final moments to find out if we had done it or not. And of course, for me and Taka, we were the first guys into the stage on the power stage compared to our teammates. And when we crossed the line and heard on the radio that we split the Hyundais, it was exactly what we needed to do. And then the other two boys just needed to do the same. But Seb went on a big push and ended up winning the stage. So all Elvin had to do then at this point was finish. But of course, Elvin had already started the stage before he got this information. So it was a few nervous moments, I would say, waiting for him to cross the line. But yeah, the feeling there on Sunday in Japan was incredible. And to see the reaction of the team and everybody that has worked so hard all year and to see it climatize at the very last corner of the very last stage of the very last event of the season, I think it definitely was one of the events and one of the years that nobody will ever forget.
And looking ahead to next year, it's not that far away now until Monty.
No, what is it? A little over a month now. And, when you take the sort of 2 weeks at Christmas and New Year out of it, there is not so much time. But let's say we're going into Monty, of course, after signing for another full season with Toyota with high hopes. And after the results in Central Europe and Japan, of course, on tarmac, going into Monty, I think we're feeling really comfortable, and it's an event I always enjoy, a tricky event, and when you start on the Thursday night from the casino going into the dark, and you've got 2 studs in the car, 2 slicks in the boot, and two rain tires also. There is many variables, but let's say it's a fantastic way to start the season, and looking forward to getting there already.
And I think I've seen a quote before where you've said that that Casino Square and Monty for the photograph with all the Rally 1 crews there, that's probably one of the most nerve-wracking moments for you.
Yeah, okay. From Japan until Monty, you haven't been in the car in 6 or 7 weeks, and to start maybe one of the most difficult days of the season already from the first day after the break. Of course, I think everyone feels a little bit of nerves and a little bit of apprehension, especially on an event like Monty, where you're not fully sure what you're going to be facing with the conditions, whether it's, you know, a bone dry tarmac road or 50-50 or maybe full ice. And of course, the tire choice when you're standing for the photos at the casino has already been made. So it's a fantastic feeling, I have to say, but one that every year makes, well, for me anyway, there is definitely a little bit of nerves there.
And we had a very special visitor to Killarney at the weekend, and you were there as well. What was the atmosphere like in Killarney?
Yeah, the atmosphere in Killarney at the weekend was superb. I think it really showed what Irish rallying has to offer, and both Callie and Johnny really enjoyed the weekend and couldn't believe the welcome and the enthusiasm that everybody down in Kerry showed. So I think to get the, well, to double world champion over to do an event in a historic car in Ireland, where obviously, you know, the historic guys and entries are always second to none, I think was something that can only benefit both Irish rallying and rallying in general on the world stage. Because I'm sure when Callie goes back for his full season now next year, there'll be some stories when we're standing in them steps at the casino about Killarney.
Yeah, no, it certainly looked good from the clips I saw, and yeah, any of the feedback I've heard from anybody that was there said the atmosphere was just fantastic, and you know, from what they saw, Callie certainly seemed to be enjoying himself and just got into the thick of it with everyone.
Yeah, Callie's just a normal lad and enjoys rallying as much as anybody else, and to come here in a totally new car on the wrong side of the road, let's say, and of course he had a test, but it was short-lived, let's say, with the weather, but you know, he's a double-time world champion, and to come here and to race these guys like he did, I think fair play to him and fair play to everyone else, like Rob and Colin O'Donoghue and all these guys that were, you know, nipping at his heels all day. And it's a shame he had the issue in stage one for sure, but also I think that took away a little bit of the pressure, and they could even enjoy it more because they had lost already the time on stage one and just go out and slide about. But yeah, I think overall it was a massive success, and also fair play to Paul from obviously Killarney Motor Club and Jason and Gareth Black for lending the car, let's say, to Calais and making it all happen.
So, like we mentioned, it's not that far until Monty, and you have a little bit of time off, but I'm sure you'll have to start watching some videos soon to get prepping for those stages. Any other plans?
Yeah, of course, the prep for Monty isn't too far away, but let's say I'm looking forward to a couple of weeks at home after a busy year. And I just wanted to say a massive thanks to everybody that has supported us, you know, through thick and thin this year. And I think, you know, everybody is behind us, especially from this little island and the UK also. So we have great support around the world, and it's greatly appreciated from everybody. So I hope everybody enjoys Christmas and the New Year, and looking forward to seeing everybody again in a couple of weeks in Monte Carlo.
So, Josh, back from Japan, do I say konnichiwa?
I think that's how you say it. No, it's good to be back on, Connor. How are you?
Yeah, all good, Josh, all good. And I suppose, how was Japan for you? Firstly, like, was it a bit of a culture shock, you know, going over there? Like, the crowd seemed to be, or the fans seemed to be just so enthusiastic for the WRC.
Definitely. The culture alone, the people, never mind the rally, the country, it's an extraordinary place. The amount of respect they show to the visitors, not even us as drivers or that there or crews, it's more the respect they showed to people in general. And yeah, it was great to be a part of it in Toyota City, where Toyota is from, and yeah, the amount of people on the roads, the road sections, and yeah, obviously the stadium stage as well. I think it holds 45,000 people, and it was damn near full. So yeah, that shows you the amount of passion in the area, and what the WRC brings to Japan, and what Japan brings to the WRC. So no, it was definitely fantastic to be a part of it.
And that's super special in the stadium, like, you know, from watching it, you know, live, etc. It looked fantastic, looked like a heck of an atmosphere. I mean, could you get a sense of that in the car? Was it a distraction nearly even?
Not so much on the actual stage, but I think the ceremonial start was one of the biggest of the year. One of the biggest I've ever been part of. it was a proper show. And yeah, obviously the stadium's is quite a nice place to do it with all the lighting effect. But yeah, it's a place you felt like a proper superstar as such. But no, it was a cool way to start the weekend, and yeah, it was good to get over the jet lag and maybe start properly there.
And how tricky is Japan? I know, myself as a non-driver and just a fan watching the onboards, it doesn't look like there's much room for error there. Either side, you've either got curbs or ditches. Like, what is it like?
Yeah, it's an incredible tricky rally. The recce is probably one of the trickiest of the year. You have to get it right because there is literally no room for error, as we find out. There's either a drain on one side of the road, a rock face, or a curb, or some sort of, let's say, object. There is a certain amount of cutting as well, which you have to get right. And but the surface alone it's got good grip when it's dry, but when it's wet, it's super slick. And it looked like it was going to be a dry rally from starting the week. I think everyone had that kind of mentality. It was going to be dry, but in past years we knew that Japan could be wet, and up in the mountains it's obviously very cold. So we kind of knew it would change. But yeah, we got all types of conditions, all types of tire choices, and it was definitely a big experience from that point of view. It's not like any tarmac rally I've done before, and obviously we had route note crew, which was very helpful, and they did a great job again with what they had. And yeah, it was not only the road surface. I think the way the stages are, they're under a lot of trees, and you have the pines off the trees, you have the leaves, and it's just knowing what way to mark that. And I think we came up with good solutions to do that. And yeah, it was all new, like most events in WRC, but to be in that country, the other side of the world, completely different time zone from home, it was definitely a big learning experience.
Yeah, again, watching the onboards, you could see kind of the damp mud at the very edge of the road, or the even moss in some places, or where the roads maybe weren't that clean in the middle. Like, how tricky was tire choice, or trying to get the tire choice right?
Yeah, tire choice was a combination, because some stages were quite out in the open where it was wide main roads, and yeah, it was between a hard tire and a soft tire, and obviously the soft tire would go off quite quick if you got the heat into it, and the performance would drop. But on the other hand, it was trying to get the hard tire switched on and get working, because if it didn't switch on, you were obviously going to hemorrhage time from the start of the stage. But yeah, it's all these small things with the pines and the moss, as you say, and the green roads, and noting them in your notes. Okay, your notes are already busy from the recce, as it's corner in the corner. There's not so much straights in it. And yes, you have to have that information, but it's trying to be efficient with it to, let's say, not mark it in every corner, but to section it, or have the crucial information in certain places. And obviously Desi and Shane knew this going into the weekend, and the job they did on this was definitely exceptional. But yeah, it's all these small details that you have to get correct, and it's only going to do these type of rallies that you find out what is actually important, and how best to do it. But I think from the first day to the end of the rally, obviously our pace got a lot better, and we learned as the days went on. But going back again, to go to these roads to write pace notes, you would have a lot more experience to try maximize it.
And look, we all know the unfortunate first stage Saturday morning, you got caught out with just too much of a cut in the tree stump. But you have to be happy, I'm sure, with the times you had been setting. Like, you were on a podium position after Friday, and then some fantastic times on the Sunday you were setting in that class.
Yeah, the rally started quite difficult. Obviously, the first stage was Isagami's Tunnel, or the first proper stage, and on Friday morning was Isagami's Tunnel, and yeah, it's a well-known stage. It's been done 2 years in a row now, and okay, the two guys in front have been there, but we were quite a bit off and on that stage. The second pass was cancelled because of McErlean, so we didn't get another rattle at it. But yeah, to move from, let's say we set a baseline there, and to move into Sunday where we were fighting for stage wins was definitely a big improvement. Obviously, Saturday morning was definitely far from our ideal, going in that bit too far. the line from WRCs was going in, but we went in that too much. And yeah, okay, our pace note had a clip on it. We were probably in a cut, which yeah, you can learn from that and say, why did you not listen to your pace note? Why did you follow the road line of others? And yeah, there's many pros and cons of why you do this in certain circumstances, but yeah, we have to learn from that. It was okay, a small mistake, big consequences. It took the front right corner off immediately, and there was not much we could do from a mechanical point of view to try fix it, to try continue. But yeah, it was a shame to lose more or less a full day of running and them roads. And then to go back into Sunday, we knew we couldn't, let's say, go for a Sunday drive. We were there, we had the car, the whole team was there, and we had to stay motivated to obviously punch in good stage times. At that point, you have to keep motivated. Maybe in the past we would have just went out and done a Sunday drive to, let's say, get experience, finish the rally, blah blah blah. But I think we're at a certain level now where we have to show some good pace if you're presented with these scenarios. So no, it was nice to go out and set top 3 times most of the day, and obviously we didn't get the most of the dry running on the Saturday, so it was still trying to dial setup in while we were going. But the whole team done an incredible job. It was a Eurosol car that was run by TalkSport. Just the logistics was the way it worked out. But yeah, some new people, and it was nice, a nice team effort.
And going there, and obviously your first time to go and compete in Japan. I mean, who were you benchmarking against, or were we benchmarking yourself in your class?
I think you have to always benchmark off the fastest. It's always the way you have to go. And we knew Nikolai Greisen would be strong from obviously Central Europe performance, but he was fast there this past 2 years, and yeah, he's a very fast tarmac driver in a car that seems to be well sorted in tarmac. So yeah, he's definitely the benchmark, I think, for everyone in a Rally 2 car on tarmac, no matter who you are. So it was good to benchmark off him. Okay, Sunday you could say he could be cruising, but then another side you could he never cruises that man. I don't think he knows what slow is. But that there on a seconds per kilometer point of view is how you benchmark it. But also with the Rally 1, you can take the fastest Rally 1 and obviously see what the gap difference is from rally to rally. It's probably a more consistent benchmark than Rally 2 because there's different guys fastest on different rallies in Rally 2. So from a Sunday or from a Friday to a Sunday, I think it was a massive improvement in terms of seconds per kilometer. Obviously we were well off Friday morning, but to Cummins, I think the per stage is maybe 0.3, and then there was another stage we were only 0.3 off the quickest. So it was a big learning from Friday to a Sunday, but to be in that environment, that's the only way you can start making progress.
And look, there was a lot going on in that rally. We had several championships all coming to a head, drivers, manufacturers, and then WRC2. Did you have time to keep an eye on those? Were you surprised, at what happened with Oit, or were you just focused on your own competition?
Throughout the rally, okay, you had some snippets of what was going on at the front, but I think it was only really Sunday where you started to take notice of what was happening from a World Championship point of view. And then there was a regroup before the per stage, and everyone kind of knew what had to happen, and there was a proper buzz about the service park part, the regroups, and yeah, it was cool to follow out in the road section because we were running quite far back on the Sunday that you had time to look of what was happening in the front. But yeah, I think everyone kind of came home happy with obviously Terry winning the championship for Hyundai and then Toyota winning the World Manufacturers Championship. It was quite cool, and it's great for the sport to come down to the last stage of the rally for something like that to be decided is quite cool.
So Josh, first year with TalkSport, started out in Portugal. How do you feel, personally the year has gone for you?
Yeah, I think it's been a quite strong year. Obviously off the back of last year, coming from Hyundai into a Skoda, a lot of things new. And it probably started the most dreamy way in WRC Portugal with the podium. and yeah, it probably continued on strong from Sardinia to into the fast rallies where we were all fighting for podium positions. And Finland was probably the biggest weakness, I would say, in terms of pace. We've been there 3 years or 2 years in the past, and yeah, we're coming off a back of fast rallies where we were having solid performances and we were fighting for stage wins. But yeah, Finland was quite an anomaly in the whole thing, and it was strange from a pace point of view. But obviously we can look at it now and see what's what. And then moving into the new rallies of Greece, it's brutal. It's hard machines, and we got to the finish in a relatively strong position. And then into Central Europe, another one that's tricky, and another top five, which we're non-scoring and fighting again for a podium, and something small happened. But I think the biggest thing to take away from this year is that you believe that you can be there and fight for podium positions. It's not as if we're just making up the numbers now and going to the rallies for to do them or to experience them. We can actually say that we belong to be there and fighting for positions, which before it was quite hard to say that we were going to a rally and we knew we were going to fight for a position, which was never the case in the past. And if you look at seconds per kilometer from last year, I think it's improved by 0.6 or 0.7, which if we improve that another step next year, we'll be winning the championship. But it's into the fine margins now where you have to really look in depth to see how to improve going forward. But no, I think 2024 has been a step in the right direction.
And to get that last couple of or to reduce that time over each kilometer to the leaders and stuff, where is it? Is it pace notes? Is it setup? Is it just is it a combination of things?
There's no doubt it's a combination of all the small things. Yes, pace notes, car setup, driving, knowing driving style in certain scenarios of what's best to do, and whether to drive straight or more sideways or in ruts or tarmac with the racing lines, the apexes. There's so many things to look at and put together, and obviously experience is massive. I think it showed this year in Portugal that we had the experience of 4 years in the past, and where the roads are going to cut up, where the rocks are going to appear, where the puncture risk is high and when to manage it. It's so important when it comes to these events because it's all the small details that everyone at the front is getting right, and to be at the front you have to get it right. And it's a whole team effort from an engineering point of view, from a mechanicing point of view, from a co-driving point of view. It's everything, and obviously the backroom team you have has to put in a maximum amount of effort and trust as well, because it's all them small things that matter. And we are getting there in terms of everything clicking, but there's still some small things that has to come together to make it happen. And obviously John Coyne has put a huge amount of financial support, not even talking about his time and efforts, from a split time analysis to being at events and all the rest of it. The man's motivation and drive is incredible, and if it wasn't for that, none of this would be happening. And it's good to be in the position going into 2025 that you still have that trust and belief.
Thanks to Aaron and Josh for catching up with us. We had hoped to have them on last week, but just with time differences and flights and everything, it just wasn't feasible. So really do appreciate that they've come on and they've shared their story with how Japan went. And it seems to be an amazing rally, an amazing experience. The atmosphere, the fans, it's just incredible. And you get that sense of that from when you're talking to both Aaron and Josh. And I suppose for Aaron, like, to be part of capturing the manufacturer's title on Toyota's home event in their home, town, like, I can only guess just the buzz there must have been in the Toyota camp, when that happened.
That's for sure, and that wrapping up the WRC season, and it's pretty much wrapped up the season here with Killarney there last weekend as well too. So, we do intend cutting back a wee bit. There's going to be a few specials now over the next few weeks, between now and Christmas and into the new year. But like we've had some fantastic, we've had a fantastic year, fantastic guests on, each and every one of them, like we asked them to come on of their own will, and it's like the amount of people and the yes, when, how, they make our job very simple.
They do, and huge thanks to the guests. Like the ethos behind this podcast has always been, we want the guests to come on to share their stories, for them to do the talking, not us.
Yeah.
And they really do give up their time. They're more than obliging, and it's been such a pleasure to talk to them, to hear what they have to say about rallying. Their stories, their tales, their good times, their bad times, and the fact that they're willing to share it with us, and in turn we can then share it with the audience. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah, and whenever you go out, then you go to a rally, you're on the stages or wherever, people coming over and saying, "Oh, I listened to whoever. I really enjoyed your chat with you." The wee stories like that, they mean the world to us. We're not doing this for any. For us, this is we're doing this for the crack. It's a bit of fun, but to see other people getting the fun out of it too, that's just blows your mind.
It does. Like we've all tried to bring it from a fan's perspective. What do the fans want to know? For somebody who maybe doesn't know a co-driver or a driver, or wonders what happens in the ERC or the WRC or the Irish Tarmac Championship, that we can bring that behind the scenes stories, to people. And yeah, as you say, if you're wandering around a service park, or you're at a start ramp or a ceremonial start, or on a stage, people do come up and they'll start telling you, or quoting one of the stories or one of the interviews they've listened to. And the comments that we get, and the messages, the emails, or even the suggestions people have for what guests they'd like to see, it's just lovely to get that bit of interaction with and to get that feedback.
Yeah, and to each and every guest, thank you very much. To take the time to do it, fantastic. Really, really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to bringing even more stories in the new year. To each and every person that tunes in while they're watching, listening, or whatever. Again, I don't know why, but you seem to love it. So, but we enjoy it, and that's the main thing. So that is season 3, episode 51 wrapped up. And until the next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.